So welcome back to my channel. For those of you who have been tuning into my recent videos, you'll be used to me being in some far-flung, gorgeous, spectacular location somewhere in the Highlands. But this episode is slightly different. And for those of you who haven't yet tuned into any of my episodes, welcome, and please, if you have the time, please check over some of my previous videos. But this episode is going to be slightly different. Don't worry, this is not some bloke down at his local railway station filming himself, walking his dogs and promoting his new calendar. Although the link is in the description below. I've only just got back from the Outer Hebrides, where I spent a week on the Isles of Harris and Lewis with some good friends of mine, Paul Thomson and Adam Gibbs, where we were running a collaborated workshop. And at the end of that week, I had the opportunity to sit down with both Paul and Adam to discuss landscape photography in Scotland. So please sit back, enjoy this little brief 10-minute excerpt from that conversation, and I will join you at the end of my walk. Go on then. Okay, so welcome to this week's vlog, and I thought I'd do something a little bit different this week. Usually I'm found out photographing somewhere in the Scottish Highlands, but this week I've been running a workshop on Harris and Lewis with my good friends here, Paul and Adam. So we've just come into the end of this workshop, so I thought it'd be a good opportunity for us to sit down and just have a brief chat about Scottish landscape photography. So welcome, Paul and Adam.
Right.
Thanks very much for popping in. I'm sure many of you already know Paul. He's a professional landscape photographer with his own YouTube channel based in England. And I'll leave a link in the description below for Paul's YouTube channel. And I'm sure most of you know Adam. Pretty much a very highly respected landscape photographer. So. Yeah, so we're in Harris and Lewis, and so we've almost come to the end of our workshop. And how have you guys found it?
Yeah, it's been fun. Enjoyed it.
Well, no, it's been yeah, it's been really good, and actually the weather has really cooperated a lot. No, it's been brilliant. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, we've been here for what, almost 5-6 days now, and I think we've only lost half a day, maybe two-thirds a day to the weather, which is not bad for the Hebrides.
Not at all. Not considering last time we were here, it was a lot worse than this time.
That's right, yeah, and we lost a bit of time yesterday, but we spent all that time image reviewing and editing some of the guys' images, and I must say, I mean, some of the images that I saw, I would be quite happy to have on my portfolio. Yeah. And on my website.
Yeah, it was a bit embarrassing, really, wasn't it?
It was.
Didn't show any of mine.
They were really good.
But the funny thing is, I showed mine, and then I saw some of the others went, ooh.
Yeah, there was one or two of them.
Maybe I wouldn't have been so liberal with showing my images.
I know. I think it's been brilliant. I mean, the standard of work has been incredible, and you think that they're not used to photographing in this environment and these conditions, and I think they've all adapted really, really well.
Yeah, I think so.
So we've got one more day before hopefully the ferry's running on Saturday. So
fingers crossed, touch wood.
Yeah, but I know you guys have travelled to Scotland on many occasions. Is there any particular location, Adam, which is your favourite?
Well, I've only been to Scotland twice, actually. Right. But yes, Torridon. I mean, if people have watched my YouTube channel, they know that I really like photographing forests and trees. So Torridon is interesting because I like the Scots pine woodland there. There just seems to be a bit more of it there. But I know there's quite a bit on the east coast as well, but we haven't really explored that section. But the Torridon area, just for some reason, I really love it there. And then, I mean, Harris and Lewis is a whole different ball game. It's more about the coastline, which is pretty exciting because even though I live on Vancouver Island, the coastline here is, I don't know, I just love the colours here and the subtle gradations between the beaches and it's just beautiful, really is.
How about yourself, Paul?
Well, I always like the Highlands, and as soon as I start to travel up the road, as soon as I get past Loch Lomond and what have you, I feel as though I'm in home country. Then I love the place. I love the place.
Have you explored other areas of the Highlands?
Well, obviously Glencoe, we've done Torridon, Ballachulish round there, the other end, bits round Fort William area, and then obviously Harris and Lewis, and they all have different merits really. I tend to, for my landscape photography, I think I tend to, if I'm in the UK, I tend to travel north. Always.
I think for me, I think my favourite, I mean, I've lived up here a number of years now, and I've always got a real close affinity to Assynt. It's a place that, it's hard to describe. It's almost like just a vibe, you just connect with it straight away. The way I connected with Harris and Lewis, I guess, it was like an instant connection, and that's how I felt with Assynt. And I think, you know, it's hard to put a finger on it without really, I don't really know why, only the fact that, you know, it's because it's got the same ingredients as lots of other places. You know, it's got mountains and fantastic coastline, and it's got the wildlife. So it hasn't got anything that some of the other places haven't got, but it's just a connection. It's just a vibe. Yeah, and you know, and I just really enjoy working over there. I enjoy going over there with or without a camera, to be honest with you. I think it's somewhere that, you know, the wife and I just enjoy going over there, and even if it's just going to walk the dogs, it's just a great place. But yeah, I think Torridon is also, it's a magical place, isn't it?
It is, and I haven't really explored it that much, but it's the same thing. It's just a vibe. It's maybe it's just because we eat at the gallery there and the food's good. But yeah, it's just a nice little area, and it seems to offer a lot of potential.
I think for me the Highlands offer a lot of, the lights always seems to be good up here. It doesn't really matter whether the weather's rubbish or whatever, you always seem to get really nice light up here.
Are there any challenges that are unique to photographing in Scotland as compared to other places that you've been to?
Yeah, well, I mean, the weather is definitely pretty extreme.
Yeah.
I mean, when it rains, it rains.
It doesn't think about it, does it?
It's not just a little drizzle.
It just does it.
I think that's what the appeal is, because I mean, everybody knows that it rains. Scotland is known for its rain, but the weather changes so quick, well, especially on Harris and Lewis, so quickly that it makes photography actually quite exciting. Yeah. Because the light is constantly changing. Whereas some areas probably, like Torridon, the weather is not quite as, doesn't change as quick. Yeah. So if it's raining, usually it's set for the day, and I mean, from my experience anyway. I mean, last year when we were here, the weather was just atrocious for the whole 3 weeks, pretty much. Wasn't it?
It wasn't good at all.
I know this week we've been paying real close attention to various weather forecasts and weather apps, because, you know, we've got 9 guys here who we're responsible for their you know, their enjoyment and their learning. So we've been paying a great deal of attention to it. But when you're in places like Torridon and you're in woodland and forestry, do you pay as much attention to the weather forecasts as we have this week?
Well, actually, I don't really pay attention to the weather at all. I don't have any weather. Well, I have a couple of weather. I never use them.
Right.
But maybe if I lived here, I might. I don't know. The woodland is a strange thing because you don't really want it to be sunny necessarily, but you also don't want it to be cloudy and miserable. So it's kind of a mid. You know, it's nice to have, if you have it somewhat sunny but with variable cloud, so you get variation in light in the trees, I guess. But with the landscape, the big landscape, then I think that probably a bit of sunlight would help quite a bit.
Yeah.
Because you need that light to create depth and contrast.
Yeah.
If it's just flat lighting, then it's hard to find subjects.
I think the danger is that you pay too much attention to the weather forecasts and the weather apps. You know, sometimes the best weather app is your feet, isn't it? Just get out there and just explore. And even if the weather forecasts are correct and it's just torrential rain the whole day, at least you're out on location and you're beginning to get an understanding for the way the weather systems are working.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even today, I mean, this morning was really, really nice, but the weather wasn't fantastic. But it was, the light was great, kept changing, and then by the afternoon, you know, it got pretty miserable. But even near the end there, you could see that there was almost opportunities there. It was changing so quickly.
Yeah, I mean, we could have spent all day down there and got a whole host of great photos.
Well, we almost did, didn't we?
5 hours of the same people.
5 hours went really quickly,
yeah.
and I think I took one composition.
Yeah. But I mean, just in those 5 hours of the weather systems, you could just see the cloud. The thing here is that it's so windy, isn't it? And that the weather systems move through.
Yeah.
They blow through fast, so.
Yeah.
But the wind is great for waves, and
Yeah.
I mean, it's challenging, but it's exciting as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it was great that the guys that are with us this week, they're not. None of them are from Scotland. I think they're all from south of the border in England. So they're not used to photographing in these conditions, and I just think that, you know, they've come away with some great shots. Do you pay much attention to the weather forecasts and the apps?
I do, but then I obsess over data a bit that way, which, you know, it's probably not a good thing. But I mean, I do check it in the morning to see what's going to happen, usually. But likes of when we were in Torridon last week, we went out one day up into the forests and it was flat. There was just nothing at all, no light. It was kind of quite dark. I couldn't find anything. I couldn't see anything at all. And that was a day that I pretty much got nothing. Next day, completely different. There was light in it, and I found lots.
Yeah.
But I really struggle. I struggle when there's no light at all. Everything just looks the same.
I look at the weather forecasts and it registers with me, but I don't pay an awful lot of attention to it. Because I find that living up here and working up here in the Highlands, that the weather systems, they move so quickly and they change so quickly, that how on earth can you expect the weather forecasters to get it right?
Yeah.
You know, they can.
Especially here, right?
Yeah, they can give you a generic idea of what it's going to be like.
Well, it's very localized. I mean,
Oh yeah.
it depends on where the mountains lie and valleys and.
Yeah. So I mean, you've been to Harrison Lewis a couple of times before. I mean, what are your thoughts about the islands here?
Oh, stunning! Really is. I think, and they're so different too. I think that there's huge potential here for photographers, both, you know, the north and south. I think Lewis. If I lived on Lewis, I would be exploring the whole coastline. It's just incredible. I mean, that place. What's the name of the place we went to with the arch? Is there a name for that?
Stack of Freeze.
Stack of Freeze.
Yeah.
I mean, just mind blowing.
Yeah.
And I think the whole coastline is like that along that way. So.
Well, you could go back to that location multiple times and get a different shot each time.
Yeah. And I mean, just the waves, and it wasn't, I mean, the weather wasn't anything extreme, but I would imagine during a storm it would be just incredible.
Well, it's just one of those places that really gets the adrenaline going, I think.
Yeah, it'd be scary.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to stand on that cliff.
And I got a terrible head for heights, so
80-mile-an-hour winds or whatever.
And I think when you've got 3 or 4 guests with you as well, I think your heart's in your mouth for the couple of hours that you're there, you know. And
especially when they're standing kind of like a couple of feet from the edge.
I know. I know. I mean, I remember one guy that I had on my workshop. He was a roofer, and he had absolutely no fear of heights, and he had absolutely no concept that there was a 200-foot drop, literally within a shoelace of where he was standing.
Yeah.
And my heart was in my mouth, you know.
Yeah, you do panic. Or they go around the front of the camera and start cleaning.
Yeah, or the hat blows off, or
It's like, oh man.
yeah. And then we had you get a guy with a brolly as well, and that just you just got these visions of Dick Van Dyke and Mary Poppins,
Yeah,
like
I was waiting for it. Go on.
yeah, you do have your heart in your mouth. But it's a brilliant location, and then there's several like that here. You know, you've got the Butterfluis Lighthouse and the Sea Stacks.
But as a contrast, then you come down to Harris, and it's way more subtle, and well, the sea isn't, but the colours and the landscape is so different.
Yeah.
So you can get best of both. You know, rugged and wild, and then much more subdued and gentle. You know.
And I think personally, I don't know. I love the ruggedness of Lewis, but I think personally my favourite's Harris. I just prefer the softness.
Yeah. I think I've been running workshops here for 4 or 5 years now, and the majority of people feel the same way as you do. And they're normally 5-day workshops, and you know, the majority of them would be quite happy to spend 3.5, 4 days on Harris. But I mean, you know, I know there are people who prefer Lewis because of its ruggedness, and you know, I mean, I quite enjoy photographing all the derelict houses and the sheilings and etc. etc. But yeah, it is a brilliant place, and the light is so beautiful. It just gives you such a lovely, colourful palette.
Yeah. Well, look at the other day there when we were travelling up to Lewis, and we pulled over to photograph that sheiling. I didn't even get one shot of it because the light started happening further over in the mountains, and that's what I was concentrating on. So you do stop to photograph one thing, and then something else happens.
Yeah, no, it's a challenging area to work in. It's you know, you could rent a house here for 3 or 4 months and probably still not do it justice. So many opportunities. But so what's in store? What's on the horizon for you then, Paul? What have you got in store for the next?
We've got more coming up next year, haven't we? We've got another 2 back-to-back for next year.
Yeah, we'll be back here next year.
So we've got Harris and Lewis next year, haven't we? We've got Uists as well.
Yeah.
Which will be new.
So I'm looking forward to Uists.
Be sure to visit deanallen.com or deanallenphotography.com.
Well, it's a new location for us, and I don't think many people go there. So we're really looking forward to it. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, I think it will. From what we've seen.
What's the other island called?
We've got North Uist, South Uist.
So how does that compare to here? Because I haven't been to those locations.
Yeah, I mean, literally, it's only a short ferry ride from where we're sitting at the moment, but it's a lot different, isn't it? In many ways, you know, it's a lot more watery. You know, the inland is much more watery with lots of little lock-ins beside the rock, beside the road. It's not as, I wouldn't say it's as wild as here.
No, parts of it are as soft as Harris, though, aren't they? Like Berneray, for example, that's...
West Beach is just as, it's in the same league as Luscombe, I would say.
Yeah,
really?
Pretty much, but on a bigger scale.
Wow.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
How long's West Beach?
I understand it to be 5 kilometres long.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it's pretty long, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you could bring a really big group there then.
Oh, yeah, I think you struggle to fill West Beach.
Yeah, no, it's just a great place, and you know, it's a lot of the islands are now, most of the islands are now joined by causeway, so getting around, it's a much smaller island than here, and then you go all the way down to Eriskay, and then you get the ferry from Eriskay across to Barra and Vatersay, and you know, the beaches on Vatersay just stunning. So it's a great coastline. If you're into history, you know, it's got fantastic historical value, Scottish historical value. And it's just a fascinating place. It really is, and it's certainly fill 5 days of photography quite easily.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Did your camera go off? Oh no, it's fine.
Still filming.
So, yeah. So you're back off home in the next few days. What's hopefully?
Maybe. You could still be here next year, by the way.
Yeah.
As long as we can get off the island with the ferry on Saturday.
Well, yeah, it's 50-mile-an-hour winds, isn't it? Hopefully we'll get off, because if we don't get off Saturday, the weather forecast is exactly the same for Sunday, so we won't be getting off Sunday either.
Yeah, could be an issue.
But,
And now you've got, is it Spain you're going to?
Yes, I'm going to northern Spain with Mr. Alistair Ben
yeah.
for a workshop in January. So I'm looking forward to that, because that'll be quite different than here.
Yeah.
And yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And then Africa in March.
Fantastic.
Yeah, with Alex Nail.
Brilliant.
So I'm looking forward to that too. Yeah, big travel year this year.
And you're back here this time next year?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
Good.
really looking forward to it already.
Yeah. Well, look forward to seeing you again. But guys, thanks ever so much for spending a little bit of time here. I'm going to buy you another whiskey. But for now, thanks ever so much. And thanks ever so much for watching. And I shall catch you again very soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that brief chat that I had with Paul and Adam from our hotel on the Isle of Harris. Next week, I'll be back out in the gorgeous, raw, beautiful, spectacular Northern Highlands, where I'll be filming and photographing for the channel. And I hope you'll be able to join me. Well, I've reached the end of the walk now. It's time to get the dogs back home. Thanks ever so much for watching. Really appreciate it. And I hope to see you again very soon. Bye-bye. Come on, girls. Come on, this way. Come on. Good girls.